100% finish rate is on the line at middleweight coming up this weekend. We have Brazilian Black Ties own Claudio Ribeiro taking on ugly man Joseph Holmes. And when you look at this matchup, both of these guys finished in their last fights. For Claudio, he got knocked out by Abdulrazak Alhassan because he keeps his hands by his waist. And for Joseph Holmes, he struggled with the grappling exchanges against a long-time established vet. And you can say that for both of these guys. But for Holmes, against Junyoung Park, he really did struggle in some of those sequences. So if you look at it for Holmes in this matchup, he switched camps. Now, was kind of forced by the forces of nature to go from Glory back down to Texas. And he's a guy that's represented SFS MMA in the past. But getting ready for this one, as Matt goes with the song from Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, going back to his roots, Craig, getting fired up.
Joseph Holmes for this one, he's now training out of Texas again. So neat to see for that one, but a new gym connection there for Holmes. For Claudio Ribeiro, if you look at this guy, I mean, my goodness, just a path of death and destruction.
If he was a firefighter, would he look at a burning building and say, what if we threw fire on it? Because that's really all he does. And that's what we said a lot in that Abdulrazak Alhassan video. It was, hey, this fight's probably going to end by knockout because both these guys are more than capable of finishing the fight that way. But it's like you said, what does Claudio do? Holds those hands like he's carrying jugs of milk. Like, they're so far down by his waist, it is concerning. Now, is he a plus-level athlete? Does he have good footwork, and can he evade some of those shots? Of course he can, but...
Whoa, hold on. His basis for MMA, Claudio Ribeiro's basis for MMA, is dancing and boxing.
And that's the thing, like, Claudio moves very well on his feet, but the problem is, when that's a part of your game, you really are dancing with the devil from the second you walk into that cage until the second the fight's over, because you're always going to be a liability to getting hit by those big shots. Now, is Joseph Holmes the level of striker that an Abdulrazak Alhassan is? No, he is not, but Holmes is still a guy who's going to make you pay for those kinds of defensive liabilities. Goodness, as I struggle with that. I just worry about Claudio, and is that one part of his defense just such a weakness that now everybody can look at it and say, okay, we can build a game plan off of that because it is a weakness. You can threaten with takedowns. It might make those hands come down even more. It might make him less liable to throw his own shot. I just really worry about that one big problem with Claudio because we have seen that with some fighters. The second the book kind of comes out on them, they can struggle to build off of that.
And that's what I found interesting, going through, listening to interviews that Joseph Holmes had done before this fight, and he did one with the All-Star MMA, JHK, and he kind of touched on the fact that he lets his coaches do the tape study, but he picked up on the fact that Claudio likes to throw a lot of naked leg kicks, and he also had a crazy fallout after the whole Kevin Holland thing. So Joseph Holmes, the personal life's gone a little bit wild. Listen to that interview. But when I watched Claudio fight against Abdulrazak Alhassan, he had some big-time advantages in that fight in terms of height and reach advantage, and he utilized them well at the start. Those leg kicks are really good. In the first round, they forced Alhassan to switch stances, but then he was able to close the gap with some of those hooks, and you saw Claudio not bring the hands up, not really be able to circle out. He kind of backed up towards the cage, and that was ultimately his demise in that fight. And if you listen to kind of both of these guys, I mean, Claudio was on Dana White's Contender Series. He ends up getting the win over Valenzuela, who was a champ down in the south of the Americas. And if you look at that fight, Sean Strickland's in the corner yelling, and I quote, "Get ready for those big hooks, they're coming!" as the left hook lands for Ribeiro, and he ends up getting the finish really early on. So if you consider both of these guys, and if you listen to a guy like Joseph Holmes, I mean, even when Holmes was on Dana White's Contender Series, both of these guys had that. Both of these got wins, and both of these guys got wins by finish. Dana White gave him the old, he's only 6-1. I've never done this before, but on Sunday, November 14th, I'm going to Fury Fighting, and we're doing an episode of Looking for a Fight. He has already agreed to fight. And then he's like, well, he looks pissed off. No way, Dana. You think? You're giving contracts to everybody under the sun. On that episode, Renato Valdez, Fernie Garcia, Carlos Hernandez, and Mike Malott got contracts.
Like, Dana White, I've never done this before. As he's tying his hair into a pony. Like, Dana White says this every single episode. I've never signed a 35-year-old prospect, but I'll do it again this week. I've never signed someone with three... there's no, prerequisite.
The crazy part for Claudio, I really like reading Sean Bitter's work with Cage Side Press and some of the other websites that he's done work with, and reading his Dana White's Contender Series kind of preamble about Claudio. He said, in the fights he went to the distance, he gets a lot more active as fights go on. I don't think Ribeiro is UFC level. I think he can get there. Yeah, like, I didn't think he was UFC level coming
Ain't
in
no mountain
either.
high enough, though.
If I'm being completely honest. Like, Claudio Ribeiro, when you watch him strike, it's a lot of big, wild looping shots. He's not like some of the other guys that have come in recently that throw a lot of power or go out there and utilize some different parts to his game. He will clinch in certain exchanges. He doesn't go for any takedowns. Claudio Ribeiro is kind of like Kaylee Cowan with his grappling. He'll get right up against you, he'll dig underhooks, and then he'll hold you up against the cage. He's also liable to getting taken down. In his fight against Albuquerque on the regional scene with Future, he goes out there and Albuquerque tries to take him down and has success at the start of the fight. But as Sean Bitter said, Ribeiro kind of builds his way back into the fight because he has odd cardio and he's still able to swing for the fences. And his opponents on the regional scene weren't necessarily the best. So when I look at a fight like this, Matt, Joseph Holmes, obviously a secret weapon. 8-3 is the total record, but 6 of his 8 wins are by submission. He does have a jiu-jitsu base. But Joseph Holmes, kind of like Johnny Munoz Jr. in the last fight, Joseph Holmes isn't swinging out there for freestyle wrestling takedowns, double leg, single leg. He likes the body lock for the trip. He likes to get it up against the cage. We could see him having success with that in this matchup. It's a tough ask, though, against such a big guy in Claudio.
Could we see him eat like some Travis Brown type strikes too on the takedown entries?
Know.
Because that's what I worry about. Since Holmes isn't that kind of natural grappler, he will leave his head out there a little bit. And I don't just mean that in terms of, oh, he could get guillotined. I could see where Claudio is able to hit him with some good shots on some of those entries. I just think for Holmes, it's very dangerous for him to be on the feet in this fight. So I will expect him to try to get it to the mat at some point. But again, the issue is going to be, how does he disguise the two? Because he's not really a good enough wrestler for wrestling's sake, I don't think, to just out-wrestle him for 15 minutes. So I think it is going to come down to how is he able to mix his martial arts.
Well, and I think Joseph Holmes making the transition to War Training Center, that is the gym. I know I mentioned SFS MMA earlier. That's Trevin Giles' gym, and that's a big body that can get in there, work some of those grappling exchanges as well. You look at the odds in the matchup. Again, Sean Bitter and myself didn't really think Claudio was UFC level. He's more than a 2-1 favorite in the matchup. We have a look at the total votes on Topology. Surprised us there to you. I'm going to say over under 72.5% Claudio.
I think they'll be over.
I think they're going to be over. They are over. 633 total votes. 80% Claudio. 79% by knockout for the 20% that have Joseph Holmes. It's like a lifesaver. 37% decision, 29% submission, and 24% by knockout. It's a tough fight. Joseph Holmes sometimes can wait there a little second too long with his hands up and waiting for those big hooks. And for that reason, I actually think Claudio Ribeiro gets the win in this matchup. But this is a chintzy call at middleweight.
I feel like for Claudio, every time we make one of these prediction videos, it really is going to come down to the opponent more than him. I know that's a weird thing to say, but he really is kind of set in his ways. I like the footwork early. I like the power and how, like you said, the power carries late, although I wouldn't say he has tremendous cardio. I think that's an all right way of describing it because the hooks are very looping. So the way he loads up on them, if he lands at any point, he is very devastating in that capacity. So I do have Claudio in the matchup, but if Joseph Holmes goes out there, has a clinch-heavy game plan, really tires out Claudio with some of the wrestling exchanges, I wouldn't be surprised by that either.
Think of Joseph Holmes' 3 losses. He loses to University of Wisconsin, Whitewater stud Jordan Newman, who's still undefeated with Bellator. That's his first loss. He loses to Jamie Pickett, where he wins the first round striking, then Pickett grapples him round 2, round 3, and he loses to Jun Young Park due to the grappling. Joseph Holmes hasn't lost to like a pure striker out there just yet, so it really is a tough call. Both of us going with the Brazilian in the matchup. Matt, some big time fights left on this card. Bantamweight title on the line in the main event. You're not going to want to miss. Keep locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.